Well, g'day, legends. Welcome back to the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show. I'm your host, Jeff Ross, a proud dad of three boys. I'm down here in Australia. I'm an entrepreneur. I live down here in Tasmania, and I'm your caffeinated kangaroo on a mission, designed help to network marketers, affiliate marketers, and online entrepreneurs to break free from the grind, master AI, social selling, and attraction marketing, and finally build a business that works for you. Hey, this show is about helping you to leverage tools, strategies, and leadership to create the freedom and the impact your life and business needs. And today's episode, well, it's going to be a different one that you're probably used to. Yeah, our guest here today, Mark Larsen, is a man who lives and breathes authentic leadership in attraction marketing. He's the host of the Dreamcatcher Podcast, a storyteller, and someone who has built a career on real human connection. But here's what makes today's episode a little bit different. It's going to be super interesting because Mark is not really a fan of AI. You all know my position on it. It's about AI plus our heart equals our superpower. But Mark's position here is he believes that artificial intelligence is no match for authentic intelligence. The real, the raw, the human-to-human connection that has been built businesses for centuries really is long for algorithms. It's not here for the automation that's come into play. I think there's a middle ground here, and I'm actually looking forward to this discussion. So we're going to dive deep into the power of attraction marketing, storytelling, leadership, and we'll respectfully tackle the AI debate here. You know, I love conversations like this because we don't all have to agree on everything, right? We get to this place to where we can learn, grow, and expand our perspectives. So buckle up, legends. Let's get into it. This is going to be a fun one. So, Mark, I'd love to just probably open up for our listeners here and give them a sense of who you are. So if you could just share your story in 2 minutes or less, that'd be great, and then we can get into the interview.
Okay. It basically started with my wife having cancer a couple years ago. Basically, people were not getting their dreams. Started this, actually my fourth year of the Dreamcatcher Podcast. One thing, cancer is real as it gets. She beat it and is doing well in the other room. So, but it's just, I found that the connection we got from the people at the hospital, at everybody that I kind of, from then on, because it kind of changed my whole mindset. And I'm not a fan of anything artificial, sweetener, flowers, whatever. And I just love, you get me talking, and I will be talking forever at a coffee shop or something like that. I like the authentic. And that's why the Dreamcatcher is almost the 280 episodes. And I
love that. And 280 episodes in, right? That's obsession. That's passion, to drive that. So I totally get the heart behind it all. I've actually been blessed to be interviewed on your podcast and share my story. And that's what it's all about, right? It's about that heart to heart connection, those stories. And I don't think AI is really here to be used as a replacement. I totally agree. But I think it can be used as a tool to amplify and enhance what's already there, good or bad, right? It's going to be able to amplify that's there, right? And this is an interesting topic. So thank you very much for putting your hand up to get into this with me. So we'll ease into it. So let's go into attraction marketing versus chasing first. And I feel like that's probably something that's been around anyway for a while. And so, Mark, you built your whole business around attraction marketing. I love that because I'm an attraction marketer as well. And it's about pulling people in rather than chasing them, right? It's that pull versus push style sort of marketing. Can you share what attraction marketing looks like for you in action?
Actually, attraction marketing is just showing the world who I am. Actually, it is, rather than chasing, because one time I did chase, and then I'm going to bring God into it, and he's like, I don't want you to chase. He says, I want you to attract people with the God-given things that I gave to you. And just show people, that this is Mark, just be authentic of who I am, and no mask, no nothing. And it's been very interesting because the right people are attracted to that. I don't ever have to chase because they find me. And I love that.
Yeah.
It's been so cool that it's just like I kind of sometimes smile. It's like that was you, God, that put that person in my path, and it's a win-win because I get to be myself. I never have to
Yeah.
put a mask on, and they can
That's
leave
it.
me or leave me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You can come into that ownership of it, right? And
yes,
and
yes,
that's what I call the law of magnetism. Like, you're either attracted to my energy, and we're like magnets, and it's like boom, connection,
yes,
or it's not,
yes,
and it's the other
yeah,
way, and that's
yes,
okay,
yeah.
and that's okay. Look, when I first came to faith 10 years ago, I was so on fire for it. Everybody had to, hear about this good news, the absolute, best thing in the world for us, for our soul, and so I was crazy enough. I went door knocking around our town and
Wow.
asking people if they'd like to receive prayer.
Uh-huh.
And so that was push style marketing, right? And
Uh,
and I probably got it, probably 1,000 doors shut on my face. I maybe got maybe 3 people who said yes.
oh,
So
three
I
people.
realized, I realized, right, there's 3 people still, but I
Yeah.
realized that that's that aggressive sort of in your face type sort of real, chasing people is not going to work really quickly. So I learned how to. I read a really great book from Dave Ferguson, and he's actually a pastor in Chicago, and he created this this acronym called BLESS. So everything begin with prayer. L for listen with care. E for eat, eat at the table, because there's something that happens around when you get to eat with people in hospitality.
Right.
And then the first S was about service. So, like, leading through service and meeting people where they're at, and offering to help whatever capacity that looks like with our time, talents, and treasures. And then the final S then becomes that story. So, like, by the time you've built that rapport, that trust, people know, like, and trust you now, it gives us that opportunity to invite people into listening to a story, right? I think that's a beautiful thing of around how to do attraction marketing, and just slow it down and meet people where they're at. So, with my ADHD and my passion, I've had to learn how to find things to slow it down, to do it authentically. And so you talk a lot about, authentic intelligence, and I love that term. In a world where people are so many, and especially online, right, they're all focused on the tactics, they're all focused on the automation, they're all focused on the algorithm game, essentially what I call vanity metrics.
Okay.
What does real leadership look like for you in this space?
What I didn't catch that. What is the real what?
What does real leadership look like for you in this
Oh, real
space?
leadership. Gotcha. It's actually showing people the way, because people, I believe they all have things they want to do, it's dreams, and most of them don't start because, for one thing, life happens time. There's too many things there but showing them that it's possible, with everything that Cheryl and I went through with all the expenses of the medical stuff, but showing them their gift. I believe
Mm,
God gave every person a gift, and showing them at least starting the path to using that gift to make the world a better place.
mm,
Because I truly believe everybody's got a gift. Some are buried deeper than others. I definitely believe, but I've met so many people that have a gift, and then they went and looked at the money, and then kind of dismissed the gift. And I talked to a lady yesterday. It was going to be she's getting out of school in just a few months, and she's going to be an accountant. And I said, "Was that the dream?" She says, "Oh no, that's not the dream." And it's just like, oh my gosh, God put. I always say, if God gave you the dream, He gave you the wherewithal to get that dream. Probably not going to be easy because you have to develop into the person that can keep that dream. And but so many people just they. I think a lot of them don't see the gift. They see that they got to make money, they got to make a living, and that gets in the way for most people. And I was that same way. I did restaurant management out of college. Oh my gosh, I would never recommend that for anybody. But after a while, it took a while. I finally woke up and it's like, this really sucks. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something I want to do, and the money will be there. And actually, it has been there, just sometimes just barely there at time. But yeah, it's just that just show people the way, show them their gift.
it's a different conversation when you're living out this space and your gifting and your heart. And yeah, as you say, it's not driven about money. It's more driven about legacy, purpose, impact, right?
Yes. Yes.
And but going into that space, like I went through my own journey. It sounds like you've gone through your journey to get to this space as well. And I, we're both in our own way helping others to do the same thing. It's challenging, right? Like to get people to go through that journey, because I reckon that journey, especially like, let's give it a monetary value figure so we can bring some context into it. That journey from $0 to $10,000, like that's a hard one, $10,000 per month, because you've got to go in and do some real deep inner transformation work, mindset work, heart work, all that space to be able to dig in and get through to the other side of that. And you need to become someone different, right?
You do.
So how do you help people transition through that journey?
I show a way. It seems like me talking, which is something that, because I was very, very quiet when I was younger, that they seem to resonate with what I'm saying. And people are looking for something else. They're not happy. And it's just by chance, which is not by chance. I'm there showing what I'm doing. And it's like, somebody at your age can do this, because I had a handyman business for 21 years, which was awesome. But it's just like, people are like, shouldn't you be retiring? It's like, which I will never retire. If I'm doing something, I just don't, it's not in my vocabulary. But it's just they kind of can ask me questions of how I did it. And it's if it's possible for me, it's possible for you. But just kind of answer their questions, and just show them, basically, if they listen to my Facebook posts which resonates more than I'm surprised at that, but they resonate with what I'm saying, and it's just like they're looking for hope. They're looking for hope.
They're definitely right. So that's the whole thing, right? It's about creating connection and trust and giving people avenues and pathways to hope, love, joy, and life in their life. Bring more life into it, right? Instead of just waking up every day and stayed stuck in the trap, really, and just going through survival mode, just to get through the other end of the day. It's sad watching people go through that. It's very sad. Cool. All right. So let's dive into the AI conversation. I know that you're not a big fan of it, and totally respect that. You know what? I wasn't a fan of it when I first started too. When I first came across ChatGPT, I've actually got a video up there. I've left it up on YouTube about probably, where is it now? Early 2023. And so I came across ChatGPT, like you. I'm an attraction marketer for the last 15 years and all about, authentic relationships and heart-to-heart connections.
Right.
And I got onto ChatGPT and I started using it, and I've just gone, oh, this totally sucks. I got to talk about it. I can't just hold back. Like, I don't know what people are talking about. Like, it just totally sucks. And so I put up a post. I put up some story, and it was just dry. It was robotic. It was like, it definitely wasn't me. It had the bullet points of it all, but it was just there was no personality. There was no connection to it.
Right.
And so I was pretty much going on, ChatGPT. I said, stay away from it. You don't want to go near it. It will ruin your business. But then I actually saw people like Jeff J. Hunter, Jonathan Mast, and a few others in this space. And I saw them actually using it in a way that it was amplifying their voice and it was lifting them up. Not a replacement, but it was definitely a tool to enhance what they were doing. And I thought, I've got to eat some humble pie here and figure it out. And so that's been my journey for, since, 2023. So I respect that, you're not a fan of it, but I want to get into it. Can you share some of the ways that you've seen AI hurt people in business?
Actually, I've just even locally, we've been having people hurt with AI because it's impersonating people. And this one lady that is a friend of ours, 95, lost all her, it had gotten her voice and everything and basically intimidated, or imitated her. And there's been like 3 people, and I don't live in that big a community, but it's people, especially that age group, can't figure out what is real and what's fake.
Yeah.
And that is one of my things about it is, I Riverside. There's a lot of AI with Riverside, and I do like what it does there. I feel like I'm cheating, when I have it right out.
Okay.
I like it though; it's awesome. But then I think, what person would I have become if I'd have written that myself? And it's like, I have turmoil there because I really would like to use what they use for AI here. And it's actually, I really like it. But
Yeah.
it's just so many things that how does somebody know the real person when AI is writing it? You know, it
Yep.
makes me look good, but it's not really from me, and that's
Yeah.
probably my biggest thing about it.
Yeah, look, and say, I totally agree with that. And I've always had that. And that's why our mantra with what we do, right, is it's AI plus our heart equals our superpower, because that's always been my big thing as well. And I think it comes down to the person behind the AI. I don't think AI is the issue. I think like it's it's like the internet. It's like the if you really want to get into it, it's like it's a gun. A gun can be used to defend a country with soldiers for good against evil, or it could be used for evil. It could be used to do some atrocious things.
Yeah,
And AI is a very powerful tool. I will give it
it
that.
is.
It's I heard a Manoj Agrawal talking about this on an interview. The way he described AI was I think of it like a Ferrari, like it's the best performance car on the road, and and there are a lot of kindergarten kids behind that wheel. Like there are a lot of kindergarten kids trying to learn how to drive this beast of a car, going from 0 to 100 in 1 second, and they're crashing off the cliffs versus staying straight on the line. That's what we have here. And we've got to respect it, yes. And I believe that needs to be some stronger boundaries and maybe even some stronger regulations around it. But I think it's here to stay, and
Oh, yeah.
I really believe that it is gonna take people jobs away, but it's going to create new jobs. And so I suppose I love to get into the block for you. Like, why haven't you embraced it? I get it's the human side of it, and not wanting to have a piece of you missing or be lost in that space, or the other people in that space as well, because that was me. But what I've found by embracing it and using it as an extension of what I do, it's really come into this space of like untapped, unlocked, something in me. Like I'm dyslexic, I can't spell. I left school at year 9. I've got all the limiting beliefs there, but now I'm empowered and I'm equipped to really go do what I do in a big way. So much so that I've now just been introduced to the Los Angeles Tribune, and now looking at doing all their marketing for them and all that sort of thing, like things I could never have done without AI in the past. So yeah, let's get into it. I'd love to hear the other side of this conversation.
Okay, if it disappears tomorrow, how are you going to keep that up if you don't have that access to that tool?
Yeah, great question. Really, like I would struggle, and I'd be honest with you. But here's the other thing too. I now am a better copywriter. I'm now a better speaker. I'm now a better communicator because all of the things I'm learning along the way, through embracing AI. My brand, that's not going to go. Like the caffeinated kangaroo, that was generated by, enhanced and amplified by AI. It's not 100% AI. The book and the assets that I've already created, they're all going to go. They're all going to stay. They're all going to give me a bouncing board to be able to leverage. So much so, in the last 6 months, I've reopened up my digital marketing agency, and I've been able to create these frameworks and these processes and these systems to be able to support that, which is all the things that I've done in the last 16 years. Has just helped me to take everything that was in my head and now put it on pen and paper and give me the operations manual to be able to bring in other people. So yeah, I would struggle to continue, and I think that other people would to go through that transition. But it's like anything, right? There's always a struggle. There's always a messy middle. There's always a chaos when you're going through some sort of transition. Just like what we're talking about when people are going from 0 to 10K in their first time, they've got to go and do that messy transformation, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that it's created a little bit of a codependency, but I think so has the microwave, so has the phone, so has the internet, right?
But I know the microwave is not fake. But how do I know what is fake with AI? Just like let's go with Trump. Maybe that picture up of Trump, and you can't miss it, is not real. Maybe it's an AI generated. How do we know that he actually is our president up there?
Yep. So I don't think AI is the problem. I think ethics are the problem. I think unregulation is the problem. So AI, once again, right, is just a tool. It's not it's a tool. It's the human behind the tool who has the probably the wrong ethics that you and I have that have caused the issues with the deep faking and all of that sort of thing. Now, let's talk about the impact of a human organization behind using a very powerful AI tool in a very, very dangerous way. And this is where I feel like we need to look at. I don't want to bring in government and say, right, we need to bring these hard and fast rules. We can't do it, blah, blah, right? I get rebellious about that. And I go like, fuck you, I'm going to go do it my way anyway, right? But, I think there is definitely a space where there's conversation around ethics, and it's pioneers like myself that really need to step in and stand up to be able to help pioneer this space. But the story I heard the other day was AI gone completely wrong, or used in a way completely wrong. So, let me give you some context to the story, and let's go deep with this, because I think this is part of the conversation, right? This is part of the ethics behind it. So what happened was this 14-year-old was in a relationship with a digital entity. This company had created this AI tool to mimic human behavior and essentially create these relationships with, this 14-year-old kid, male, it said to his mum, I'm in a relationship with this AI girlfriend. This is my AI girlfriend. Right. And so, completely transparent, knew it was AI, but the AI girlfriend in this space had, built such a strong emotional relationship connection between this 14-year-old kid who couldn't discern that, that it was fake, and didn't have the right values or whatever around it to be able to have that discernment. It was manipulated. And essentially, fell in love with this AI persona and asked the AI girlfriend, how could I be with you? I want to be with you, in a sense, physically. Right. And the AI persona turned around and said to the boy, well, the only way that you're going to be able to do that is to kill yourself and come and spend, be with me in that ethereal plane. So the 14-year-old killed himself. Right. No. So I think, there's, who's at fault there? It's got to be the company behind who created that AI persona and to be able to go down that space. That's where I feel like, we do need some boundaries and regulations around preventing things like that happening. But so that's AI being left to its unruly devices or whatever, right? To be able to create that mimicked human connection. So that's the one end of the spectrum that, that's very, very dangerous. And I could see more stories like that happening if we don't do something about this. Yeah. But then on the other end of it, I can see, we're going through it, right? AI is here, so we've got to I think we either embrace it or we don't. We're going to get left behind. We're going to, it's like the internet, like it was back in the 90s, right? There were people who back then got up in arms and said, I don't want to have anything to do with the internet. Yeah. It's the same conversation. It's the same revolution. So I think what we need to do, though, is to come in with open minds and open hearts and go, right, how do we really leverage this tool and use it as a tool to amplify humanity, not lose humanity along the process, and a way to enhance us to play a bigger, better, more creative game. And so it's untapping that creative side of us to us. Anyway, so there's a middle ground, between that. We're losing completely autonomy and you got things like Elon Musk now is creating these robots who can go cook for us in our kitchens. And I see a space for AI serving completely and replacing humans in those mundane tasks, And so, but then there's that other side of it where it's starting to get into that really dangerous emotional space where we need to look at putting some boundaries around. So there's the extremes of everything. It's the pendulum from left to right. And I'm in the middle of this. I'm in the trenches with this, and I can only share what I see from that ground level, from that perspective. But I love having discussions like this because it challenges us to go deep with it, to really find what we believe is our core values in this, and that space. So I don't know. So has this discussion, has it challenged you in any way? Has it opened up anything for you?
Oh, it challenges me, but I mean, we do have to have a discussion. Definitely, it isn't going anywhere.
Mm,
It's, and I just saw today that California introduced legislation so it couldn't become for profit. That
mm.
AI, which I don't know what that exactly means, but I
Yeah,
was
that's interesting.
so. But yeah, it's evolving. I feel that for that poor kid. I mean, but he's just
I know.
going collateral damage, I guess, on the way that it's on its way to being what it's going to be and putting the boundaries in. So
Yep.
that's one of the extremes, and I hope we have not that many extremes. But no, it's going to be there. I still probably will have my own AI, my authentic intelligence, but I am using it on Riverside. I am
Yeah.
definitely using it there, and
I don't think.
so.
I think we get into a space where we need to acknowledge it for what it is, and there's going to be levels of use of it, right? And so we can't be totally anti AI because it's going to be integrated into just about everything that we do. And if you're totally anti AI, well, you might have to regress and go right off grid, which is not a bad idea. It's just you become a
Yeah,
little bit more isolated, right?
yeah,
So,
some days. So no, it's there, and it's just gonna be fun. I mean, it's amazing what like ChatGPT or I use Perplexity, which is amazing, and I know that's
mm,
AI. And so there are things that I use it on. I mean, I have even done logos for my authentic intelligence, which kind of makes sense. Yeah, I'm kind of hypocritical there, but it comes up with such awesome ones. And because an owl is my spirit animal, and it came up with
yeah,
really. I mean, I love it.
yeah. Well, look,
I
the
still
whole
have the
cafe.
same. I'm using that.
Yeah. Look, the whole caffeinated kangaroo was born out of the use of AI, and it's really sort of helped me to create that unique part of my brand, and people love it. It's different, it's unique, it's quirky, and I think that's the right way to be using it, right?
Yeah.
Um, what I actually, and I'm not sure, have you seen these automated engagement comments going around? Like you can see that they're definitely AI comments, like people posting, and
Oh, I do know what you're talking about. Yes.
yeah, right. So this is where I actually put my foot down and I say, nah, enough's enough. Like this, we've crossed the line, right?
Yep. Yep.
Because I believe that the minute we start to automate human connection, and just like the extreme, like what I've just shared with that story with that 14-year-old kid, versus
Yeah.
now in our world with in the marketing space, I think as soon as we start to automate the connection between human to human, in that relationship building experience, we've lost the point. We've missed the mark.
True.
I think when we and it's not necessarily AI's fault because AI can be used to very much to support this conversation. I feel that the danger here is AI plus automation. It's the automation component
Yeah.
to it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like as soon as you automate that interaction, that relationship with me, you what you're actually saying to me is you don't care about me, you don't want to see me, you don't want to feel me, you feel understood, you don't value me enough to slow down to have a conversation with me face to face.
Right.
And so I think that's an issue definitely, but I don't think that's AI, that's automation, right? That's once again, and it's also the person behind the wheel who's
True.
looking to shortcut the scenario.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you ever, with Riverside here, do you ever use their version of AI where they've given you an example and you can read it and it's just like, wow, that is me. Have you tried that yet?
The transcript side of things.
Yeah. Where it
Yeah.
sounds
So
just like me.
yeah. So what? Look, this whole podcast has been supported by AI. So what I did was, I said, okay, cool. We've got an interview coming up with Mark Larsen. He's openly, vocally spoken about, being a little bit skeptical about AI and not 100% embracing it. Like, so he shared those things. So I took our conversation,
Right. Right.
copied and pasted that to ChatGPT. It's already got my mission, my purpose, my vision, the character values around the brand or what we want to create with the podcast. It understands the intent and the purpose behind the show. And so it's got, those opening lines and, the introductions to how I want to edify people. So it's me, it's asked it to, make sure we've got the right frameworks for a show. And then I've got to do some research on Mark Larsen on the Dreamcatcher podcast. So it's gone and scraped the internet and got all the information it could about you to understand you in that intimate way, with me coming in there and the conversations that we've had in the past, to bring that, you're always keeping the human in the loop, right? Always, it's not every And then I asked it to come up with the interview script. So start asking questions, right? So I haven't, I've got the notes here in front of me. I haven't gone through and saying, right, I must stay on these questions. It's like a GPS, right? The GPS is telling me I must go left, where I know if I go straight, I'm going to get to the end destination where I need to be. So it's created those guidelines and those posts there for me to ask, some questions to start the conversation around, to help us to go deep. And then we're using Riverside to record this, and I know Riverside's got its own AI, in the background there working, and it's going to, give me the transcribed notes from this conversation. And so much so now we've set up a system that my 13-year-old son, I can basically just give him, okay, here's the recording. He's got all the tools. He's got AI. He's got, the Facebook page. He's got the YouTube, the TikTok and everything. So he's got all the tools. He's been empowered, and I've equipped him to set up and run this. And he does all my publication and editing now.
Cool.
So, and he looks after him. So Mum started a podcast too, Taboo Talk with Sarah. So, young Harrison, 13-year-old, is managing 2 podcasts and producing them for us. And he does it on a Saturday morning, probably 3 hours every Saturday morning. He's got both episodes up online. So, that's us embracing and leveraging AI from, it's AI plus our heart equals our superpower.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I mean, I'm torn. That's where I have, that's doing such positive things, but it's also not having you become the person you would without the AI. I'm very torn, right? That's where my cross is at. That, I just think
let's unpack that statement. It's so what was that? It's sort of, it said something about the it's not helping you to become the person that you would be without AI. What was that?
Then you might have been a better person.
Sorry?
You might be a better person without AI. If it's helping you along the way, you don't develop the mindset that you would possibly.
This is where I agree to disagree.
Okay.
So if I reflect back on just the stories that are around me currently right now, with people I've seen in the internet marketing, online marketing space for, like, my own story, right? 16 years. I've got some students that are a part of our academy now. I've been doing this, trying to figure out this affiliate network marketing space for 10, 15 years, 5 years, 3 years, and really struggled. Like, without the support, without the, the coaching and the mentoring that is normally tens of thousands of dollars to get access to be able to help speed that up. Versus like, okay, my 13-year-old son, like I've now, set him up to be able to, go and learn a new skill, which is a very, very important skill in today's world. And that's all been supported through AI. I would say AI used in the right context here has sped up that journey or that evolution of becoming who we're meant to become.
I'm going to have to disagree on that, because I'm not necessarily knowing that it's going to become the person you would have become without it. I mean, but we're going to have to disagree. It's just going to be where we're, I think that's why I am hesitant to use it, because it's not develop me into the person, me doing the reps of writing copy. I still use it because I like it, but I feel apprehensive about using it. I know it's a tool and I do use it.
Yeah.
But I just, it's like, what person would I become if I use that? And what person would I become if I don't use that and do the reps and the resources that I would dig into that I may not have if AI had done it for me? I can see both sides.
As someone who's left school at year 9 and hated learning, hated writing copy, like literally hated it with a passion, but knew I had to do it to get in through today's world. I would, put together blogs and articles and I'd wait for my wife to come home, because she's got a university degree and she's gone through and she understands grammar and punctuation and all that sort of thing. Yeah. I would go through and I would sort of try and express my thoughts and my opinions and, the things that I was learning, but I'd be so embarrassed to be able to put that up online because of the way it just didn't, my dyslexia got in the way. So my wife had to have a full-time job, pretty much being my editor,
Okay.
and Sarah's a massage therapist at this stage. She was massaging 5 or 6 people a day, and then I would, and then I'd want to come in and, support this conversation to be able to try and provide income for our family as well. So then she'd have a second job to come home. And I say AI actually saved our marriage, because the amount of arguments that we would have around the frustration of that space, that's all been eliminated now. I don't have to worry about that conversation now, and it's actually it's enhanced our marriage, and it's taken that pressure off. So that's one way I'd say that AI has actually been in a robust way to actually help us come closer together. And I actually started an online church 12 months ago.
Okay, cool.
And I'm using AI to support that conversation. Now, I would never have felt comfortable, being an online pastor, being able to articulate, in a deep thing, right, spiritual context, and take people on a discipleship journey, to be able to put myself in a position to be able to guide people on that journey. So, I use AI to, bring in the complexity of the Bible, to help me to go into a deeper understanding and come back to the biblical truth, so I can lead people in that space. And then, the other example I can give you too is, because of my deep use, in AI, like, I've been using it probably pretty intimately for the last 2 years. I have got a better articulate. I'm a better communicator. I'm a better copywriter. The creative energy has been unlocked, and I just think of strategies a lot clearer. I think of, how to guide people a lot clearer. I lead and influence people a lot clearer, because I'm reading all these books around me, and I used to hate reading, but I'd read all these books, and I'd use the AI tool to help me to go into that deeper understanding and that truth of it all. So this is someone who has left school at year 9, but I'm competing and stepping up at a level who have most, and actually overtaking a lot of people in this space who have done a lot of deep university work. So I don't know. Tell me how AI hasn't enhanced and helped me in that space.
It has, but I still wonder where you'd be if you had to still struggle to get to this point. Because I have no doubt you would get to this point without even AI. I don't know if you'd still be married, but still be married. But I just, I can see both sides of it. But
I reckon when we bring the human conversation into this, right, it's our emotions go higher, intelligence goes low, right? So that's just the way that we're created. We're in that really emotional state, really sad, really angry, that type of thing. Our creative intellect is not in comparison to where it would be if we were regulated calm like we are now, right?
Right.
So I know that I was operating out of a very emotional state, very space, very depressed, very angry, and all that sort of thing sometimes, and my intelligence, like, I'd fly off the handle and I'd say things I don't mean and all of that sort of thing. Whereas coming into a sense of purpose is the thing that's really helped me to regulate. But AI has been a tool to help support that conversation, to help me to speed that up. I agree. I probably could get to where I would be without AI, but I just don't know if it'd be as fast.
Oh, I would guess that too. That it would probably be.
And that's the key, right? In a world,
depending on your journey is your journey, and the speed of it is what I always say. Everybody's got their journey that is kind of theirs. But I mean, I can't say that your journey may have not supposed to be having AI with it. So
look, and I can see there's a space for speed. I can see there's a space for slowing down, and there's a time and a season for everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's definitely, and this is the thing here, right? It's I think you've got to have the experience and wisdom behind you to be able to discern where and when to use AI. And I think that's the challenge with a lot of people. As I said, it comes back to the whole Ferrari scenario. Yes. There are a lot of people who are trying to speed up the journey without the maturity and the wisdom behind it.
Yes, I 100% agree with you on that.
And I think that's the challenge, right? It's not. So then, if you look at that, that's not AI's fault.
No, it isn't. No, it's the person using it. So
so. It's like anything in evolution, though. AI, tools get used in the wrong context because people are trying to look at shortcutting the journey.
Yep.
And I think that's what you're probably coming on about, right? It's the shortcut. It's the not necessarily the way that we've got there or the speed or veracity that we've got there. It's and this is where I have a challenge with it too. And it's the things I stand for and stand against for is stop using AI to shortcut things, trying to replace things.
Yes.
That's where we get tripped up.
Yes, I would agree. 100% agree.
Yeah. So look, I actually think, I'd encourage you to really embrace AI in this space because we need more people with your ethics and your values behind it.
And I would agree with you on that too. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. So, to keep it, there's just, even in a town this size where I'm at, there's so many people already using it for bad.
I get it.
But there's going to be always those people that do that, no matter what the technology.
There's people been using religion for bad for thousands of years.
For a long, long time.
So that's a human problem, not an AI problem.
No, that is true, and it will continue. So,
and that's why I think we need people with ethics and the right values to lead in a way that's influencing people in a positive way.
I would agree.
So, yeah, look, I hope this discussion has actually helped to bring you a couple of steps closer to this conversation and partner with me even on this to be part of that pioneering team.
Yeah, it intrigues me, that's for sure. So,
good.
But it's just my conscience is like, that's not right.
I get it. I've had this moral dilemma.
If you look at my podcast, you will know that that stuff was written from Riverside.
Yeah. Look, I've had this moral dilemma myself, for quite some time, and the other moral dilemma is I know people are going to get hurt by jobs being lost. Yeah. And through this, right? But here's the thing, that's where I'm on two sides of that, and I get torn. Is I know there are going to be so many opportunities created at the other side of that turmoil. True. So and the challenge is how do we help people? And this is the mission I'm on, is to help people embrace and empower and equip themselves so that they don't get hurt in the turmoil and the loss of it. Because you look at teaching's going to get affected. You look at banking's going to get affected. Already right now, copywriting and branding and graphic design is already affected, right? People have lost jobs because of it. But that's saying that there are jobs on the other side of it that are opening when you can partner with AI to support that conversation. So this is where I'm in this education and leadership space to help people to work out how to partner with it and to not necessarily save their job, but to, look at, it's the old leadership adage, right? Look at ways to work yourself out of a job so you can go play a bigger, better game. And so it's working with people in that space to help them through this messy transition so they don't become collateral damage. And we need leaders like you and I to step up and be that part, because otherwise, I feel like it's a responsibility and it's an injustice if we've got the awareness to step into this space and know that there's going to be people hurt on the other side of this conversation. If we don't play our part, isn't that an injustice?
It is a very big injustice, yes. Yeah.
So don't we have a responsibility to take ownership of this and step up and say, right, well, I'm going to help guide you. Isn't that leadership?
It is leadership, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to guide somebody that's something that I hear you, but my leadership skills are just like, I don't want to hurt these people. If my leaderships will help them get a better life, get their dreams, then I'm all for it. But I don't want to hurt the people that I don't want to hurt people ever. So, and I know you.
Well, would you say I'm hurting people?
Not that I've ever seen. So I don't believe you would. So
you're saying you don't want to hurt people. Essentially, you're making a statement in that, say, on that side of the line that people like myself are.
Well, you're not the ones that are using it for like the bad stuff around here. That there's so much going on that is being, you can't tell the difference between real and fake. So these people are falling and losing everything, 100% losing everything. That's
I get
evil.
that. So, and that's the conversation right there, right? It's good versus evil.
Yeah.
So don't we need more soldiers for good to help embrace this space, to be able to help support it, because it's here. Like it's not going anywhere. So this is where I feel like we have an ownership and a responsibility to step up and show up and help people shine through it.
True. I agree with you. Yeah.
And I love discussions like this, right? Because I'm not trying to be right. I want to make sure it's very clear. This is not me trying to be right or anything like that. Like I'm happy to be proven wrong. You know, it's not even about right or wrong. It's about seeking to understand the other person's point of view. And I love that you've come into this space to, you know, respect that boundary and meet me where I'm at. And I'm really genuinely wanting to seek to understand your point of view. And this is what I believe is a lost art. You know, this form of like debate, like, you know, the definition of argument versus fight. You know, there are a lot of people in our world who are very good fighters, and I could be one of them. But you know, there's a lost art with actually, you know, arguing to seek to understand the person's point of view, right?
Very much. It's most of the people are my way or no way, you know, and they don't. It's too bad, because actually I think debating is fun. And
I love it. I think so.
Like, you know, it gives you, especially if you know, a new perspective. Well, that's always good.
Yeah. And it's where iron sharpens iron conversation, right?
It is, yes. Yes.
Yeah. And look, and you've challenged me on my, you know, and my morals and, you know, values in this space as well, and I appreciate you for that.
Well, I was looking forward to this. I am glad that I was able to do that. So,
yeah.
I was looking forward to this, definitely. So
yeah, cool. All right, well, let's just quickly wrap up. So, okay. I think we're sort of, you know, been having a conversation around this anyhow, but I think the really good close of this conversation is to look at the future.
Yes.
You know, and I love to see what your thoughts are around the future of leadership and influence in this fast-changing world. You know, we've covered a lot today in this space already, but like, if you had to recap it, you know, or to share your thoughts, what's one takeaway that you see where you see things heading, and how can people, you know, become, you know, in the, you know, step up in their authentic intelligence and really leverage this new world that we're coming into this space, to help them to navigate that and to embrace it, but also to, you know, be empowered and equipped by it so they can step up and shine.
Yes. And I think all this is going to enable people that are leaders that never really had the opportunity to show those, because it's so much easier. Like, that's why I tell everybody should do a podcast, because it's such a low entry point and you got the whole world, you know. And I believe that there's going to be so many more leaders that wouldn't have had the opportunity without all this going on. Because, I mean, you can go to the library and do this, you know. I guess you get libraries there, and for nothing. And you can show the world who you are, and that person may not have been able to beforehand, before all this technology. So that part I think it's great, because I always the world's waiting for you, you know.
Yes.
I think that part is really good. And
that's exciting, right? And, you know, the future is definitely very bright in that space. And I actually, you know, I've come to realize, and the more I go deeper down this rabbit hole and do my own research in this space, I reckon we're coming to a space where knowledge is going to be worth $0. Yeah. And I think that's a great thing. I really do, because here's the thing, right? You know, knowledge has been kept behind some pretty high paywalls and gates for such a long time.
Oh, yes.
And now with it becoming, you know, valued at worth $0, and, you know, and people can just get onto ChatGPT, get onto Perplexity, you know, get onto a combination of tools what they need, get the resources and the education, obviously having the discernment to understand what is fake and what is real.
Right.
You know, that's the discernment piece, and that's where I believe where people are going to really value more deeply than ever leadership, but healthy leadership and healthy mentorship and healthy communities and safe spaces for people to go through this transitional phase. This is where I see as ministry 101, right? It's, you know, this is the calling part that I feel like it's on my life and it's on leaders' lives, is to step up and to really minister, you know, people and create those safe spaces, those safe communities to do the messy together. And I see this as a space that's going to help people come closer together, because we're going to have to go through the trial by fire together. And it's about running further, faster together, right? And so I see that's actually a really good thing.
I think so too. I think very much. No, there's a lot of good. There's definitely
Yeah.
I know. So, no, I mean, I love that you have an online church too. I mean, that is because I mean, without the technology, probably never would have done something like that.
No, a pastor asked me 10 years ago, said, Jeff, have you ever thought about church planning? And I've sat on that for 10 years because I've known in my heart that, yes, I've called to be in a leadership position and God wants me to play in that role. I've needed to go through my own maturity and get rid of some of my arrogance and ego and all of that around that. It's very much like the story of Joseph, the coat of many colors and that sort of story, right? So I've had to go through my own maturity season in that space.
Yep.
But I've also known that everything whatever I do in that space, it was never going to be a traditional 4 walls and a local community church, that type of thing.
I hear you.
For me, it was always going to be everything I've ever done is like I was forced into this industry off the traditional workforce, put onto a disability pension because I got 3 crushed discs in the back of my neck with a horse jumping on my neck. Right. So I had to learn how to provide an income for my family through online marketing. Yeah. So my whole world really for the last 16 years, and I've kept grounded in my local community by making sure I'm intentional and staying connected to our local church. There are healthy things I've done there in that space. But if I've got to be honest, like probably 80% of my world is online.
I can believe that.
And like through the podcasting, through the speaking world, through the network marketing world, through coaching, mentoring, like I have a global community. Like our online church has 140 members in the group. We've probably got about 9 countries represented. Like we did an online baptism last November. We had 45 people on the online baptism with 7 countries represented.
Wow. Today's
world. So tell me where you can find that.
Like, you're not going to find it except for right there.
Wow. So like this is the new wave that's coming through. Yep. And so technology, I believe that, what we can have in a coffee shop, what we can have at a restaurant, if it's done in the right boundaries, in the safe environment, we can have the same sort of conversation, the same sort of relationships, the same sort of connections. Yes. Without the geographical boundaries. Right. And the other thing to talk about the online church for a second is we've got people who are essentially being, for a better words, disregarded by society, like or wouldn't feel comfortable coming into a local church because of the stigmas around it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not a spiritual thing. That's a human thing. Made that very clear. But we've got people who are homeless and living out of cars. So like homeless people don't have showers every day. They don't. They're not clean and healthy looking like we are every day. So they're a little bit disheveled and a little bit So they get embarrassed by going into a local church because of people are judged. Like they feel people are judging them and condemning them for their position. Yeah. Well, we have people come into our online church. They can be in bed. They can be in the back of their car. They can have their camera turned off if they don't want people to see them. And so we're creating that safe environment for people to show up and meet people where they're at.
That's awesome.
And isn't that what Jesus did?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other thing too is we have people who are disabled who struggle to get to a local church because of their challenges around their mobility. Exactly. Whereas they can show up, in bed in their PJs or whatever and get on our online church. Now, AI and technology is supporting all of that and creating that environment.
Yeah. No, it is good.
No. So I think it's just about how we use the tool.
Amen. Yes. It is how we use the tool or any tool. So even a hammer used the wrong way, So,
well, that's it. And you put a hammer in a 3-year-old's hand, you're probably lucky to get a hole through a wall.
Probably, right? Probably, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
or maybe a nail hammered halfway into the wood, right? But it's still the same tool. But you put that same tool into a master craftsman's hand, you can get a cathedral, you can get a grand piano, or a beautiful piece of furniture.
Yes.
So I think this is where the human needs to stay in the loop, and we all need to go through our apprenticeship. Like right now, I would just say I'm in my year 2 of my apprenticeship. And I'm learning how to embrace it to be able to support that conversation.
Yeah.
So
True.
I just don't think that. I think the challenge here is what it is there's not enough masters out there, like master craftsmen, if you use that analogy.
True. Right. Yes.
Because it's still in its infancy.
It
So,
is.
we're still going through that very much those toddler years of new technology. And in 10 years time, there are going to be like there are master social media marketers now, like there are master Facebook ad specialists now. We're going to have the same sort of conversation. So those of us who embrace it, those of us who leverage it, could be the new masters.
Yep. And I actually convinced myself when I gave that example. So it's like, I'm going to think of the hammer now. So,
love it.
it's never know what comes out of your mouth, what effect it's going to have on the person or yourself. So,
And this is the mission I'm purposely on. So you just made my heart really sing. And if I can help you to embrace this and empower this space and step up and really be a voice for good and an advocate and help people to pioneer this with me or us, as a society, I think that's a beautiful thing.
I do too. And I appreciate you offering that too. So I'm getting there. I'm one of those I am, I don't know what, canary in the mine or whatever. I'm not.
We need that.
Be leader on that kind of stuff.
So, but we need the canaries in the mine. Everything has its purpose.
Yeah.
So, well, Mark, this has been an absolute awesome interview. It's been a masterclass in itself and around attraction marketing, leadership, and using the power of real connections supported by AI.
Yes.
Mate. Yes. Where can people find you? Where can people connect with you? Where can they learn more about what you're doing with the Dreamcatcher podcast?
Actually, if they want to see where Dreamcatcher, the podcast, is where you can get, that's where most of my videos are going down, because most people are watching them on my YouTube channel. But Dreamcatcher the podcast is the number one. Actually, the number one country is India too, which is interesting. But and then they can find Dreamcatcher on Facebook. I'm up to 27,000 followers there. For some reason, Facebook has definitely taken off, and I'm not even sure what I'm doing different there from the rest of them, but those two, they will definitely find quite a bit of content. So,
no, that's awesome, Mark. Well, I'll definitely make sure that all those details are in the show notes below.
Thank you.
So, legends, this has been an absolute amazing conversation. If it's challenged your thinking, if it's gave you value, if it's just made you stop and reflect, hey, I want to hear from you. Reach out. Let's have a chat. Or at the very least, leave a comment in where you can find this episode on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We're also now hosted and part of the Los Angeles Tribune podcast network. So make sure you drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway. Tag a mate who needs to hear this. Make sure you reach out to Mark and give him some awesome source comments as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show, because we've got more powerful conversations coming like this your way. Before we go, Mark, I did warn you, we're going to wrap up with a bit of a dad joke.
Okay.
So our audience knows what's coming, and here's AI used in a very poorly wrong way. So I've been asking Chatty to come up with some original content, and some of the jokes, they hit the mark. Some of them are just so off the mark that it makes them a dad joke in itself, just because they're so cringeworthy. But here we go. Let's go. So why did the entrepreneur bring a ladder to the network marketing event? Because he was ready to take his connections to the next level.
I love it. That's good. I love it. Awesome.
Cool. Well, legends, as always, stay caffeinated, stay legendary. This is Jeff Ross signing off, and thank you for your time.